What is the reason people sometimes fall for someone who may not seem ideal on paper? There's actually science behind these feelings, and the answer lies deep within the human brain. Today, let's understand the chemistry of love. In the initial days of romance, you're going to feel a sense of being addicted to your partner. They can fall for somebody who lives on the other side of the planet or comes from a different religion. They become the most important person. And somehow, they'll say to themselves, "We'll work it out. We can work this out." Because of all that energy of intense romantic love. We define romantic love as an intense desire for another, and we expect it to last. And that distinguishes it from lust, which is generally fleeting, and also from friendship love, where you don't want them in the same intense way. Scientists have studied how the brain works when thinking about passionate or romantic love versus other types of love, say maternal love. They put people into the functional MRI, and they said, think about your partner, or think about your lover, or think about your mom. They discover that different brain regions light up for different types of love. This is important because different areas of the brain are responsible for the release of different neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are the chemical that the brain releases, which are responsible for our feelings. Understanding these neurotransmitters helps us understand why we act the way we do in relationships today. So let's explore which neurotransmitters or chemicals are released when we are in romantic love. 1. Dopamine goes up. Often termed the feel-good chemical, dopamine plays a crucial role in our experiences of pleasure, reward, and motivation. Its levels rise especially during new and exciting experiences. The rush you feel when you see or think of your beloved, that's dopamine at work. It's the same feeling addictive drugs like cocaine give, making us want it again and again. This is why we might feel we can't get enough of the person we love, similar to an obsession. And what does that mean for you? It means that you're going to feel the sense of being addicted to your partner. And in fact, it's also the neurotransmitter that goes up for people who have obsessive-compulsive disorder. Does that mean you're going to develop OCD? No. But what it does mean is you're probably going to obsess over your partner. It makes us think about them all the time. In comes another neurotransmitter that's called serotonin, and it is linked with mood regulation. Low serotonin levels are associated with OCD and depression. Do you become depressed? No, you really don't. But what you do is a feature of depression called rumination. You think about your partner over and over again in this really obsessive manner. And if your partner is separated from you, you're going to have this longing where you're wanting to be with them, kind of like you'd want to be with a drug if it was taken away from you and you were already addicted to it. There are changes in other neurotransmitters as well. So if you're physically with your partner, the neurotransmitter oxytocin, which is fondly known as the cuddle neurotransmitter, releases. Oxytocin deepens feelings of attachment. It is particularly released following orgasm. So, if you're having sex with your partner and things go well, you're going to feel very attached to them, exceedingly intimate with them, partially because of this neurotransmitter. Another neurotransmitter is vasopressin, which is associated with stress levels. It also plays a role in long-term commitment and relationship dynamics. A mix of all these neurotransmitters makes you feel obsessed, addicted, intimate, cuddly, attached, and interestingly, stressed. Being deeply in love can sometimes bring about stressful feelings, especially during times of uncertainty or conflict. One of the problems with early-stage intense feelings of romantic love is that the regions of our brain that are linked with reward, craving, motivation, and obsession are hyperactive during the early stages of love. Yet the brain areas that help us with decision-making and planning shut down during this stage. In short, romantic love in the early stages is intense and often blinds us to practicalities. This possibly explains why people sometimes fall for someone who may not seem ideal on paper. But as time goes on, how does this strong love feeling change? As love matures, its dynamics change. We need to ask ourselves, over time, as this whole neurotransmitter thing settles out, what remains to sustain the relationship? If you're arguing over everything because basically you fundamentally don't agree on most things, that is a challenge. Not saying it's a challenge that can't be managed. And I certainly wouldn't say that opposites can't attract, because they often do. But the question is, what do you do with that down the road? If you're a different religion, if you believe differently in how money should be managed, if you have different goals in terms of family rearing, career aspirations, long-term goals, and how you want to live your life. These are bridges that have to be crossed with a lot of communication and a lot of compromise. To some degree, studies support that the less compromise you have to make, the easier. And that's not surprising, right? That's easy to understand. So choosing someone with some similarities will make for less compromise down the road. And then the question becomes, how good are you and your partner individually at communication, at compromise, at being able to make choices that really aren't your first choice, for the service of some greater good? In terms of the science to support what is a good partner choice, it does seem that having very similar values, and to some degree, having a lot of similarities in general, often leads to a longer-term ability to maintain the relationship. And I'm not talking now about sexual compatibility, but I'm really talking about just maintaining any relationship. It is easier when you have fewer bridges to cross. Before you decide to marry somebody, spend a good deal of time with them, so some of those early-stage intense feelings of romantic love can begin to subside, and you can begin to really see what you've got. Despite the complexities, there's a silver lining. Modern relationships are evolving. Many people today prioritize deep understanding and compatibility before making lasting commitments. We're spending so much time now getting to know somebody before we wed. You know, a great many people are having these one-night stands and friends with benefits and living together before they marry. In a recent study, many single individuals who were living together with someone were asked, "Why haven't you married yet?" A significant 67% expressed a deep fear of divorce, not just because of its legal, financial, and economic implications, but also due to the personal and social fallout. Perhaps this trend of hooking up, friends with benefits, and living together isn't about recklessness. Maybe it's about caution. Perhaps singles are trying to learn everything they can about a potential partner before they tie the knot. In essence, marriage used to be the beginning of a relationship, but now it's the finale, and that is very positive. If there's this long pre-commitment stage of getting to know somebody, maybe by the time you walk down the aisle, you know what you've got, you're happy with what you've got, and you're going to build a long, stable, really happy marriage. Maybe we're going towards a time of happier marriages because relationships can end before you tie the knot. As a matter of fact, in a recent study, when married individuals were asked, "Would you remarry the person you're currently married to?" 81% said yes. This reflects a positive shift in relationship dynamics. The terms fast sex and slow love are becoming common. With this slow love process of getting to know somebody very carefully over a long period of time, it's going to help the brain readjust some of these brain regions for decision-making. You're going to get to know how this person handles your parents at Christmas, or whatever holiday. You know how they handle your friends, how they handle their money, how they handle an argument, how they handle getting exercise, and their own health and your health, etc. You learn a lot about the person. So we can be very optimistic about the future because of this concept of slow love. We all want to sustain a long-term happy partnership, and psychologists will give you a long list of smart ways to sustain it. But I'd like to say what the brain can add. The first thing that you want to do is sustain these 3 basic brain systems for mating and reproduction. 1. Sex drive. Have sex regularly with your partner. If you don't have time, schedule the time to have sex with your partner. Because when you have sex with your partner, you're driving up the testosterone system, so you're going to want to have more sex. But you also have all the cuddling, which is going to drive up the oxytocin system and give you feelings of attachment. When having sex with a person, any kind of stimulation of the genitals drives up the dopamine system and can sustain feelings of romantic love. And of course, there can be good jokes about it and relaxation about it that is good for the body and the mind. So have sex with the person and sustain that brain system of the sex drive. 2. Experience new things together. Novelty drives up the dopamine system and can sustain feelings of romantic love. And this isn't just in the bedroom. Just go to a different restaurant on Friday night. Take your bicycle instead of a car. Read to each other in bed. Sit together on the couch and have a discussion about something new. Read new books together. Novelty sustains feelings of intense romantic love. 3. Sustain feelings of deep attachment. And to do that, you have to just stay in touch. Learn to sleep in the person's arm. At least start that way. Cuddle after dinner. Walk arm in arm down the street. Hold hands together. Put your foot on top of his foot or her foot while you're having dinner. Gently, of course. but stay in touch. That drives up the oxytocin system and can give you feelings of deep attachment to the partner. So, you want to sustain all three of those brain systems: sex drive, feelings of romantic love, and feelings of deep attachment. We've also found out what's going on in the brain of long-term happy partners. In a brain scan study of married couples, those madly in love after an average of 21 years of marriage with their partner showed activity in 3 brain regions. A brain region linked with empathy, a brain region linked with controlling your own emotions, and a brain region linked with positive illusions. Positive illusion is the simple ability, but sometimes hard, to overlook what you don't like about somebody and then focus on what you do. Saying nice things daily to your partner reduces stress hormones, boosts immune systems, and helps you sustain a deep attachment. I would suggest 5, but if you can only pull off 2 or 3, whatever. Say nice things to your partner. That actually reduces their cholesterol, reduces their cortisol, which is the stress hormone. It boosts not only their immune system, but also yours. In summary, what the brain says about a happy long-term partnership is to overlook what you don't like and focus on what you do. Express empathy for the partner, control your own emotions, have sex with the partner, do novel things together, stay in touch, and say several nice things every day. And your brain will help you sustain a long-term deep attachment. We're built to love. Remember, love is both an art and a science. While understanding science can help, love remains a deeply personal and individual experience. How will this knowledge shape your view of love? Share your views in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. For more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.